Audio design. Atmosphere. Cultist elitism from deranged heretics. Looks like we've checked off just about everything. Outlast 2 has only been out for more or less a week, yet its beastly scares and shamelessly sacrilegious undertones are thrown into your face with no regard to the player's own sanity. We've issued content warnings on our channel before, but the following scenes displayed in the video may warrant that warning more so than any game we've covered. So if you're queasy, you might be in for a rough ride. Spoilers abound, let's begin. The opening cinematic of Outlast 2 leaves the player with some questions. Disoriented after the helicopter crash, Blake finds himself thrown into a frenzy after realizing his wife went missing. Fearing for her life, he hunts and searches. Not too far off is a village where its residents are concerned with their own idea of the rapture. Heretics convinced that the events in the Book of Revelations are close around the corner. These villagers are not your friends. They're deranged, volatile, and murderous. Further into the village, this assertion will be evidenced by the helicopter pilot, skinned like an animal and impaled against a dead tree. This is your first clue that things in the village are not well. Through the eyes of Blake Langerman, you will find yourself intermittently warping back and forth between the site of your crash and an ominous school building. This building was Blake's Catholic school, where he spent most of his free time with Jessica and Lynn, his current wife. As Blake begins to recall more and more of his childhood, the scenery becomes increasingly more repulsive. In the Lamentations chapter, a macabre hallway scene will intervene with your exploration. The sprinklers will activate, spraying blood and viscera in every direction. The camera will become obscured by bloodstains. This scene may be somewhat predictable because of the subchapter name, and it only gets worse once the flashback concludes when the village sky is painted red with blood. The following scene contends with the notion that people are capable of some of the most gruesome and heinous acts of violence there can be. Spying in on a rather brutal interrogation targeted towards a couple of innocents, Josiah is questioned on the whereabouts of Blake's wife. Lynn entangles herself with a prophecy that proclaims she houses the Antichrist in her womb. In fear of Mary's life, Josiah finally spills Lynn's location, revealing her to be in the mines up north of the village. They are both tortured and killed shamelessly by Noth and the heretics after his answer, despite promises to relieve them. The creators of Outlast seem to have some infatuation with Lovecraftian horror. Phone conversations have the potential to be pretty awkward, but I'd have to say this one in particular may be a top contender. The hallways caked with blood. The ring of a phone cuts through the noise, offering the temporary solace of human communication. You pick it up. A relieving voice addresses you, but then the conversation quickly turns vulgar and dark. Before you have a chance to put it down, a beastly wet tongue clamps itself around your neck and asphyxiates you. On your exit, the door slams behind you, and you are warned that he is coming. You should probably get to running. The village's sadistic endeavors seem to have some sort of tie-in with the Catholic school Blake attended as a child. And though that isn't immediately apparent in the first flashback, the layers of the story begin to explain themselves. In the very first flashback, Blake begrudgingly strolls through the hallways of his school before being cut off by a set of double doors. Of course, the only option is to turn around and face whatever monstrosity you know for sure is behind you, so you do just that. A girl stares back at you, her expression stoic and impartial. The game doesn't give you much time to soak it all in before you're drowned in a hallway of blood. I'm not sure how common hydrophobia is, but this scene in particular unsettled me the most. On your way to the mines, a large off-putting lake impedes you from getting there. Quickly learning that you have no choice but to cross the lake by raft, Blake doesn't seem to hesitate. He takes the raft and begins to paddle himself across. Layers of fog roll in, and your visibility worsens. Soon the entire lake is covered in fog. Then quietness. The corpses of fish begin to rise in the hundreds, and you are soon swung off the raft, making it a fight for your life just to get across the lake. After the heretics finally catch up with you, they attempt to dispatch you in some odd ways, punishments and executions that seem to fit right into the Old Testament. Burying you alive in a coffin seems to be a common favorite among the cultists. But there is a scene where Blake bears the pain and humiliation of a crucifixion, an ancient means of torturing prisoners. The game so kindly allows you to observe the whole altercation from Blake's perspective, just in case you ever had the curiosity of what being nailed to a wooden cross ever felt like. Blake's flashbacks of the Catholic school continue to threaten his sanity and impede his finding of Lynn. The environments become much more interwoven within each other, and it becomes difficult to deal with. Jessica's locker in one of the flashbacks provides some scintillating visuals, an out-of-tune music box, some notes. Not too overwhelming, but cranking the music box will prompt an event. Jessica will bolt out in front of you, alerting you to chase her. Her screams become frightening, and further away, you intercept her in a hallway, only she isn't running. Jessica's corpse hangs from an opening in the ceiling. Wander closer and, well, this will happen. Fuck. Later on in the game, a short cinematic of Jessica twitching and convulsing on a noose while still barely alive will play. Late on in the game, Langerman encounters an elementary school library. Its condition is dilapidated and worse for wear. The same strange apparition that pursues you through the game finds its way inside and shuts the door. You must find an alternate route through to the other side of the library by weaving through a maze of bookshelves, all while evading a potentially gruesome death at the hands of the apparition. Jump scares are plentiful in this area. Jessica's hanging body pays you another visit, and the rooms become warped and slanted as you press on. Blake's pace becomes grueling, and the apparition finally catches up to you, ending the flashback. The heretic mines are the climactic apex of the game, where Lynn is being held. The deeper crannies of the mine shafts are populated heavily with heretics and Satanists, but the entryway to the mines is blocked by something. Blake utters a phrase as the elevator rises up slowly. "It's coming," he says. But the game isn't referring to the elevator. The metal grates rip open and heretics begin flooding the area. You are left with no choice but to start running as per usual, but something happens. Blake ends up taking a fall that temporarily dazes him, and he can no longer run at a normal speed, and the heretic masses behind him rapidly close in on him. He only narrowly escapes with his life. Outlast 2 isn't a game for everyone, and it's certainly not the game you'd hand over to your average churchgoer. It takes nerves to make it through these scares, so I feel like I should congratulate you. This couldn't have been that easy to sit through, so if you like staying up and scaring yourself into an insomniatic fit, you might want to try this video here. Come on in. We dare you.